What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Want to give you guys an update. Miguel Cotto, legendary Puerto Rican fighter, will be facing Daniel Geale in New York in June. Now, I'm thoroughly disappointed with this particular pick. I've always respected, and I still respect Miguel Cotto as a person and for what he's done, but I do not like this move. Rock Nation Sports, I don't think it's a good look that this is the first fight with a megastar like Miguel Cotto. And I'm going to break it down. I'm going to keep this short because I'm kind of pissed off with this whole news. But he's facing Daniel Geale. From what I hear, he's facing him at a catch weight of 157. Daniel Geale is a guy who's at best solid. You know what I mean? He's a guy that's just there. He's a guy that a few fights ago, actually one fight ago, got beat and destroyed and stomped. He got his ass stomped by Triple G, Gennady Golovkin, in my opinion, the real lineal middleweight champion. Then he came back and fought Gerald Fletcher, who a lot of you guys probably don't even know because he's not really relevant. And I'm not even trying to badmouth. I'm just being honest. His name doesn't hold weight, so to speak. Not to mention, even though Daniel Geale beat Jared Fletcher was off a TKO loss to another middleweight with the name Danny Jacobs, the one that survived cancer. So Daniel Geale beating, like, what has he done? What has he done in recent memory? He got his ass kicked by Triple G. Then he came back and beat a guy who was off of a loss to another top 5, or I would say top 10 middleweight in Danny Jacobs. And Danny Jacobs actually TKO'd him, dropped him in the first round, and ended up TKOing Jared Fletcher versus Daniel Geale, who went the distance and won a decision over him, right? And then this is the guy Miguel Cotto's facing. Like, what is, I don't want to see this, man. And I don't want to hear no type of people having these pity parties. Like, you could be a diehard Cotto fan all you want, but just admit it's not a good fight. I'm sick of the fans acting like things are good fights. I'm a fan of Cotto, but I'm a fan of the truth. You know what I mean? I'm not going to front and act like this is a great fight when I don't believe it's a great fight. You know what I mean? I just don't do that. I have to keep it real with you guys, and I got to keep it real myself. This is not a great fight. And again, it's really based on, I mean, Daniel Geale, he had a tough fight with Darren Barker, who also got stopped and retired by Felix Sturm recently. You know what I'm saying? This is not the fight the middleweight champion needs to fight. Again, I said this from the jump. Cotto needs to defend or drop. I'm not a big fan of catch weights, but you got the fight with Sergio Martinez. That was at a 1 pound catch weight per your request. That's cool. You still jumped up a bunch of weight classes against a credible name like Sergio Martinez, destroyed him, and you got the championship. Even though we all know Sergio Martinez was wounded. Now you're fighting Daniel Geale, who is 1 for 2 in his last fights, and then one of those fights he got stopped. He also has recent losses to Darren Barker, a guy who got beat by Felix Sturm and stopped and then retired. So, like, even if you thought Geale beat Darren Barker, on paper he lost. A loss is a loss is a loss. So, I'm just not feeling it. Like, what does this do for Miguel Cotto? Great resume up to this point. What does a win over Daniel Geale do for Miguel Cotto's stock? Tell me one thing. Let me know how a win over him. This is the guy, okay, you're a middleweight lineal champion, right? You're fighting him at a catchweight. He lost one of his last 2 fights to a great middleweight in Triple G by stoppage. So let's say, hypothetically, Cotto not being a big middleweight, let's say he goes the distance with Daniel Geale. Because Daniel Geale, I would say, at best is resourceful. What does that do? So the guy Triple G stopped in 3-4 rounds. I think it was 3 rounds. You go the distance with him. This is hypothetically, obviously. You go the distance with him at a catchweight. What does that do? How does that prove to me that you are the middleweight champion that your belt suggests, that you're the lineal champion? You know what I'm saying? It proves nothing. And some people are going to make some bullshit excuses talking about, oh, but he's herky-jerky. Man, he got his herky-jerky ass stomped by Gennady Triple G Golovkin already. Why do I want to see Cotto fight him? At least shake it up. If you're going to at least fight somebody like a Daniel Geale, a herky-jerky, you're fighting him in your second home of New York, right? Go to Australia and fight him. Let Iggy Azalea walk Daniel Geale out and spit her bullshit bars and then fight him in Australia. Give him some type of advantage. You know what I mean? Because at the moment, he doesn't really have much. He's coming at a catch weight, which he probably hasn't fought at 157. He's 1 for 2 in his last couple of fights. And then on top of that, you're fighting in your second hometown with a large Puerto Rican, Dominican, Cuban demographic in New York. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and you're with the New Deal, Rock Nation Sports. All the odds are stacked against Daniel Geale. Even if it was a close fight, you know they're going to favor Miguel Cotto. The only reason he didn't get favored in the Trout fight is because he looked pretty bad in that particular fight. Otherwise, had that been a bit closer, or if Cotto didn't look as sluggish, Austin Trout could have been in a situation where he was fighting against the judges and like favoritism and stuff like that. So I really don't like this move. Props to Miguel Cotto for getting your money, but I don't like this move from Rock Nation Sports or Miguel Cotto. I just think it doesn't do anything. You know what I mean? Like, truthfully, I would rather see Miguel Cotto fight Curtis Stevens in boxing. You know what I'm saying? At middleweight. You know what I mean? If you're going to fight somebody off of kind of like recent losses or something like that, that is more exciting. And the last thing I would say to wrap this video up is simply this. It's not even just the fact that you are fighting Daniel Geale. It's the fact of who you didn't fight, who you overlooked or passed up, what options that were there that are no longer there at the moment because you waited too long or whatever. Like Canelo. You could have fought Canelo 2 times. That's fact. And if anybody wants to dispute me, please leave it in the comment and I'll probably make a video to shut y'all down. But anyway, that Canelo fight was on the table. I would love to see that. You know what I mean? Triple G fight was on the table. I talked specifically to Tom Loeffler of K2 Promotions, which manages Triple G, and they said they are down to make the fight, and there's a lot of evidence to support that. Now he's fighting Willie Monroe because nobody could get a hold of Cotto, and it didn't sound like they were pushing for the fight. Now we're stuck with Miguel Cotto versus Daniel Geale, a fight that is meaningless. Like the only outcome that would be of note is if Daniel Geale won, because now he's the lineal middleweight champion. But even if that is the case, let's say Cotto loses and becomes a lineal, or Geale becomes the lineal middleweight champion. He already lost to Daniel or to Triple G easy, you know what I'm saying? And there's nothing that is gonna really suggest that he can beat Triple G. So to me, any way you slice it, Triple G is pretty much the man. I mean, I'm really not feeling Miguel Cotto's decision to fight Daniel Geale. I think it's horrible. I don't think Daniel Geale has the type of brand in the States or the fan base to warrant a big fight. Like, this is backtracking. You fought Delvin Rodriguez, which was understandable. New coach, you had Freddie Roach, and you were off 2 losses, a loss to Mayweather and a loss to Austin Trout. That's rightful. I understand that. I wouldn't put anybody down for that. Like Amir Khan. Amir Khan, he lost to Danny Garcia via stoppage. He lost to Lamont Peterson. And he came back with Virgil Hunter, a new trainer. And he said, I'm fighting Carlos Molina. I'm pulling the guy up in weight with no power. I was okay with that because you have to get some things worked out in camp. And you have to get your confidence back. But now I don't want to see Khan fight Chris Algieri. Because since then, he looks like he's back on track. Beating the likes of Collazo and Devin Alexander. Why do I want to see him backtrack? I do not like when these fighters backtrack. Same thing with Kell Brook. Kell Brook has been backtracking too. Sean Porter was the pinnacle. And then since then, you fought your mandatory, which is understandable. But now Frankie Gavin, and then they're talking about Brandon Rios. I'm really getting sick of boxing right now. You know what I mean? I thought this was going to be a great year. I'm like, damn, Mayweather and Pacquiao finally got their shit together and got it done. We're going to get all these great fights. Canelo, Cotto can happen. And they still might be able to happen. But so far, I'm not impressed with this decision to fight Daniel Geale at a catchweight. You know what I mean? It's just, it's a meaningless fight. And hopefully I explained it enough in this video. But there's just no real, if Cotto beats him, that's not really, you're beating Triple G's leftovers. And I don't play these triangle game theories and leftovers and stuff like that. But I'm just saying Daniel Geale ain't been making no type of noise. He's not like on a 3-win streak or a TKO streak or anything like that, to the point where a win over him means anything at middleweight at the moment. You know what I'm saying? if Miguel Cotto were to fight a guy like Danny Jacobs, I would give him all the props in the world because that's a fair fight. Danny Jacobs can crack. He has power. He beat cancer, so he's already a guy like that's mentally strong. Doctor said he couldn't walk and things like that. So he's a champion also. He brings something to the table. He beat Jared Fletcher first before Daniel Geale beat him. So that's an interesting fight. Plus, not to mention, he's from Brooklyn. So if you're fighting someone in New York, he already has the fan base. He already has people, I'm sure, relatives and friends that live in New York. You got people in New York. That makes sense. You know what I'm saying? So that is an option that I wouldn't say shit about. I'd be like, okay, Danny Jacobs, that's solid. That's a very solid fight for Cotto. But Daniel Geale, it just means nothing. And again, if you're not going to fight the top pool of talent in the middleweight division, at the very least, fight the cream of the crop or one of the top guys at 154. You know what I'm saying? The Demetrius Andrade, Charlo brother, or Laura, Edislani Laura. You know what I mean? Fight a crafty guy like that. It's just like, I don't know, man. It just seems real diva-like. I'm out. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like my video as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video, it's Ego signing off.